distorted it. Now you think you want a rocket twirl somewhere orbiting. Theories disproportionate, the truth distorted quick. With a forceful grip, they force a misinfo that we absorbing quick. Took the people's signature to mean extorted it. They forging it, if news anchors informant to informing them. There's a surplus, but they tell us there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what's important is this, we porting ships, important gifts, of course it is. What extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks, we ignoring which informing this, informant this. It looked like we were snoring tricks. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilify those insubordinate. Way to matrix engineer, that's unfortunate. Geopolitically we in a field that's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Rappers actors say they high, say they sip with pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in a field that's for Israel. Wonder is it real?
In a world where we're going to probably make some people spiral because we're going to shatter their misconception of the unseen existence, HaShamayim, which means unseen existences. I'll let some people get in here real fast. How's everybody's going though, man? What's up in the chats? Can you share the lyrics to In a Field? Yeah, sure. I don't know how I would do that, but I know someone in here wants to make a lyric video for me. I'll just type them out sometime, I guess. I don't know. I'm probably can remember them. Geopolitically, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Rappers, actors say they high, say they sip with pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until they get the deals, or till the scripts get filled.
That's why they needed the lyrics, because they can't process all those words at once.
All right, and then we'll say this one really slow. So they took the way you saw the world and distorted it. I can count the pixels. Is it bad again? Y'all be okay.
Is that part of the rap? They
took the way you saw the world and distorted it. Now you think you're on a rocket twirl somewhere orbiting. In theory, it's disproportionate. The truth to get distorted quick. With a forceful grip, they force and miss info. We absorbing quick. Took the people's signature, extorted it. They forging it. If news anchors informants who informing them, there's a surplus, but they tell you there are shortages. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. HaShamayim is a Hebrew word that means the heavens. Uh-oh. Calm down. Calm down. If news anchors informants who informing them, there's a surplus, but they tell you there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages.
See, you can't go slow for too long.
Dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. What's important is this? We port in ships, important gifts. Of course it is. What extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks. We ignoring which informant this, we storing tricked. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilified those insubordinate. Way to matrix engineer. That's unfortunate. All right, there you go. Type those out. All right, so HaShamayim is the Hebrew word that means the heavens. Yeah, but what is the heavens? That's the question, right? So if it's the unseen existences, does this mean that when I die, I float up with wings up to this magical fairy tale cloud world where there's a heaven above me? Because there's unseen existences around us, all around us, right? So what is frequency? What is vibration? What's electricity? What is magnetism? Where do these things exist, right? What is light before it's light? Is there a before it's light? What is light? So light is just a perceivable version of what was already around you, right? Or no, it's a physical particle called a photon that travels through this air medium because there's nothing outside of the material world. So we're going to get into some of it from like a scientific aspect, and then we'll just kind of like break down how the modern church, as always, is off the mark and just totally gave you this fairy tale of the way it works. And if you've noticed that people that don't believe in the scriptures at all whatsoever will even call themselves atheists, even though those don't actually exist, because no one makes a definitive affirmation that there is no God. But really, we're going to put that on the back burner as to exactly what all that is. But I do find it funny that the people that don't believe in the scriptures, as soon as their homie dies, they're like, "Oh, rip, homie, I know you're looking down on me. Oh, all this stuff. Oh, today you believe in heaven because you think that's what the Bible says. Not because you read it, but because that's what you were told." And actually, if you do read it, you'll have a misconception of what it is. But if you actually look at the Hebrew etymology, it is about the unseen existences all around you. Heaven's here. It's all around you, right? And so, yeah, there's a new heaven and earth, and there's a singular resurrection day, a singular judgment day. We are here. We are already present all around what is called heaven, quote unquote, right? Which is HaShamayim. So if I had a band hammer, yeah, this Jacko guy, I can't believe I even put you on here, but hey, Jacko, there's your one warning, and you'll get blocked. Wrong saloon. Dude, I don't know if you saw the disclaimer, though, bro. I'll put it back up here for you. Known to cause gammas to spiral. So whenever you're typing in all caps, you're really fulfilling that description pretty well. So you have one more warning. No more all caps. This is the wrong saloon. We're talking about stuff with substance here. All right. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys, so like from a scientific aspect, how modern academia and these little propped up pseudoscientists, they know that there is the unseen existences, and it's the only intellectually viable postulation that exists. But here you go. So physicists, whatever that means, say they've manipulated pure nothingness. Guys, this is like considered like some of the top-notch people that we're supposed to revere right here. Physicists say they've manipulated pure nothingness. Let me come back over here on the screen for you guys. That's stupid. Okay, nothingness is a concept. It's an idea of a privation. Privations don't exist. Nothingness, emptiness, space, right? These are just concepts. There's no such thing as nothingness. You certainly can't physically bend and manipulate it. That's retarded. We're gonna keep it pushing here. Just so you know what happened, I'll read it real fastly for you. Without an echo. According to quantum mechanics, a vacuum isn't empty at all. It's actually filled with quantum energy. Oh, wow. And particles that blink in and out of existence for a fleeting moment. Guys, this is ridiculous. Let me change the background so I can be on screens so I can talk to you guys with this, but that's a little bit much. Actually, we'll just rock with it. Anyway, so according to quantum mechanics, a vacuum isn't empty at all. Of course, vacuum is a theoretical conception as well. There's no such thing as a vacuum, okay? It's actually filled with quantum energy, whatever that is, and particles that blink in and out of existence for a fleeting moment, strange signals that are known as quantum fluctuations. This is actually one of the mainstream narratives right now. This is one of the most propped up ones. This is derivative of quantum field theory, which is just an attempt to throw a band-aid on the nonsense that is the theory of relativity and the confinement to the material world. So anyway, we're crazy because we acknowledge there's an etheric realm, which would actually be the unseen existences, HaShamayim, right? But these guys are smart because they say that particles blink in and out of existence. This is because they shot a laser through a vacuum. We're going to scoop down here a little bit. First of all, let's think of a vacuum in a classical way, a conceptual abstraction, as a space entirely devoid of matter. It's not entirely devoid of matter because nothing is, and actually, really, that gets even deeper because on the subatomic scale, is it even material? So what is matter? Is matter just what is perceivable? And if matter is just what is perceivable, then maybe technically there are vacuums. But anyway, there are no particles there. Nothing to interfere with pure physics. Are there any particles anywhere? No, this is just pseudoscience. The subatomic scale has never been verified to be materialistic. That's just a fairy tale. But a byproduct of one of the most fundamental particles in quantum mechanics, the uncertainty principle, states that there's a limit to how much we can know about quantum particles. You don't say. It's just pseudoscience. I'm not going to read all this, guys. I'll link it for you if you really want to read it. But simply, they shot a laser through a vacuum, and it seemed to be actually more efficient at quote-unquote propagating than whenever there was air inside the chamber, or more air, because they never can entirely get rid of the air, because what is air? And you certainly can't even verify a pseudoscientific materialistic claim of that on the subatomic scale. But whatever, I digress. So here's just my point of pointing out to you that if they take out quote unquote all the air as much as that they can, and then the light propagates more efficiently, how is it that it's propagating? If it's in a vacuum, how does light propagate through it? It needs a medium to propagate through. Of course, you would need to know exactly what light is to fully understand this. This gets a little technical. I'll tell you the way that I see what light is without the spiritual undertone, right? So if you're going to try to like explain it with the carnal mind, okay, light is actually the medium that's already there, and it is being excited. That's it. Okay, sounds simple, right? So the excitation of the background medium illuminates, and that's what we call light. So you introduce energy into the background medium that's always present, and then light, we perceive light because of the illumination of the medium that is excited. That's all it is, okay? So yeah, light is instantaneous because it's already there. If something's instantaneous, it isn't traveling, is it? No, it's not traveling from point A to point B, a little physical particle called the photon. That's stupid. That's pseudoscience. It's just already there. It's all around you. All you're doing is exciting what's all around you, part of the unseen existences, and it's becoming perceivable. That's what light is, and this explains the non-locality of light. If I don't want to get too technical in this stream. It's not really a big deal. But the non-locality of light, right? Everyone's heard of it, the double-slit experiment. Oh, the light doesn't ever do anything until it's there. It's a particle and it's a wave. Sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's neither. Sometimes it's just one of them. It's stupid. Waves aren't things. Waves are movements within a medium, right? So if I'm in a pool and I move my hands and then there are waves, well, the water's moving. You just put movement into the actual medium that was present. Light's the same way. It's nothing more than a transverse movement of the medium, and you've excited to where it's perceivable. People call the speed of light our illumination rate, right? So our illumination rate, they call the speed of light. Simply, you perceive the light at a certain rate. There's a certain rate that it becomes illuminated due to excitation. Of course, it would be proportionate to the amount of energy introduced into the medium, and they call that the speed of light. That's all it is. So then when you perceive the light, you shoot a laser and it comes back to the sensor because of the energy input, and based on your perception of the excitation of the medium, they quantify it, assuming a materialistic nature on the subatomic scale. So I think a lot of the people here are actually pretty smart. They follow what I'm saying. The stupid globers that I get drug into debating, they'll just say that that was word salad, but it wasn't. It all meant something. It's very simple. So light isn't some physical particle that travels from point A to point B, and a wave isn't a thing, okay? A wave is a transverse movement. It's a type of movement that is in the medium. You have to have the medium. The laser shot through the vacuum chamber, and it was more efficient reaching the other side. Well, it's because there was a medium there. That's why it propagates. Of course, if you understand why I'm putting this in parentheses, again, it's the assumption of a speed, which is travel from point A to point B. So anyway, we're going to move on to another screen share real fast. This is just to show you that the only intellectually viable, even from the carnal mind, the only intellectually viable postulation is that there is an etheric realm. That's what I'll call it for intents and purposes, an etheric realm, the unseen existences, okay? And then we'll get into the misconception of how that's been taken away from you, so you kind of don't know what's going on. Let's look at the pseudoscientific history here of how they've propped up this fairy tale world. So the Michelson Morley sound waves need a medium through which to travel. In 1864, James Clerk Maxwell showed that light is an electromagnetic wave. Therefore, it was assumed that there is an ether which propagates light waves. This ether was assumed to be everywhere and unaffected by matter. This ether could be used to determine an absolute reference frame. So here we go. I'll also link this for you. But this is basically where everything changed, okay? They were forced with the decision of whether or not they were going to acknowledge this background medium that is obviously there, or they were going to have to throw out the heliocentric model's assumption that the Earth is spinning and revolving, okay? Because of these vectors, you would see a differential in the phase shift of the perpendicular light rays. They did not observe any type of phase shift differential that was consistent with the assumption of these movements. So here's a note in the conclusion. As the Earth revolves around the sun, so there you go, that you wonder what the decision they made. Well, it's right there. As the Earth revolves around the sun in its nearly circular annual orbit, also known as pseudoscientific assumptions, the apparent position of the star will trace a circle with angular radius 20.6 degrees. This is indeed observed. If the Earth dragged a layer of the ether along with it, the light rays upon entering this layer would acquire a horizontal velocity component matching the forward velocity of the telescope. There would be no aberration effect. The speed of light is a constant and at the same in all directions in all inertial frames. This right here explains to you, this is why they assumed a constant speed of light, right, which was, of course, staked by the 1905 special relativity postulation, because they had to assume the Earth was doing all of these movements that is clearly not. There's a movement within the ether that's over top of the Earth, and we call it the ether, which is really kind of Yeah, it's a shame. It's a disgrace to actually like the beauty of what it really is. It has a spiritual metaphysical component to it, as does everything. There's a fabric to the existence, right? But if the Earth's a geocentric stationary plane, which it provably is, and then there is something beyond the material world that we perceive, then tell me how there's not a creator that has an intrinsic nature with it. How is he not intrinsically related to what's around you? That makes no sense. What's it? Hello to you, Chris and all. What's up? Thank you very much for support. Global Witness. I'm not the biggest fan of the name. There is no globe, but I don't know. Maybe you're being funny. Thank you for the support, though. Much appreciated. But look at all their math. Yeah, but look at the math. All right, so I'll show you one more, and then we're just gonna talk. Just so you guys know, this is how it all started. And everyone throughout all of history has known this was here. It's just because they weren't stupid. So we'll go straight to the source here. This is the psychopathic pedophile named Albert Einstein. Here you go. You know, people get overwhelmed with the supposed complexity of this. Really, this is just stupidity drowning in math magician nonsense. But let's see, where is it here? There be a ratio of the measured in motion to the measured at rest energy at a given light complex. If the volume of a light complex were the same, whether measured in K or K, but this is not the case. So there you go. There's an assumption of a constant speed of light. We'll go a little bit further here. Actually, maybe we'll just come all the way down. I can't remember exactly where it is. Here you go. This is so funny, man. From the second equation of the system, there's an electric force and a magnetic force, and they have an equally strong deflective action to an electron moving with the velocity. Electron is nothing more than the terminal end of one unit line of dielectric induction. It's a gap in a field. It is not anything like a materialistic little ball. They're obsessed with their balls. This relationship may be tested experimentally since the velocity of the electron can be directly measured, which no, actually it can. If you use an electron microscope, you take organic matter and you actually coat it with nano-sized dust particles and measure reflections. That's all you're doing. You don't ever isolate the materialistic claim of an electron. Again, it's the terminal end of one unit line of dielectric induction. This was well known before the psychopathic pseudoscientists got their hands on nature that we perceive. Anyway, from the deduction of the kinetic energy of the electron, it follows that between the potential difference P traversed and acquired velocity V of the electron, there must be the relationship, blah, blah, blah. We calculate the radius of curvature of the path of the electron when a magnetic force N is present, acting perpendicular to the velocity of the electron. These three relationships are a complete expression for the laws according to which, by the theory here advanced, the electron must move. In conclusion, I wish to say that in working at the problem here dealt with, I had the loyal assistance of my friend and colleague, some other psychopath that would, for you to ever be friends with him. So anyway, I know that sounded a little complicated. It's really not that complicated. I'll link all of that. You can look through it if that's your cup of tea, but that was just a bunch of math magician nonsense to try to explain how whenever they shot perpendicular rays in the Michelson-Morley experiment, they did not get the phase shift, the change in the movement of the light rays, as was to be expected if there was an ether while the Earth spins 1,040 miles per hour east, wobbling on this 23.4 degree tilt, shooting around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour as it shoots 500,000 miles per hour, okay? Compounding these vectors, and they're having a medium that they assume to be still because the movement that was ever detected with the Sagnac effect, for example, was assumed to be because of the actual movement of the Earth itself. When assuming that the ether had certain characteristics and that the Earth was spinning, the perpendicular light rays did not do what they expected them to do. So instead of acknowledging, well, the Earth's not spinning and wobbling and all this nonsense, they said, oh, well, there must be no background medium. And they went to the lunatic extent to actually say that space and time can bend and warp due to the displacement of mass. They actually attribute physical properties to conceptual abstractions. We talked about it. Nothingness is not something that you can manipulate, yet they're still pretending to be able to do that in 2017. They're actually saying they manipulated pure nothingness. That's effectively what the theory of relativity is claiming, and that's from 1905 special relativity, then evolving into 1915 general relativity. They say that because of the displacement of mass, there's a gravity well, because space and time bend and warp, and gravity is the effect of the bending and warping of this space-time. Space is just the idea of an area void of material. It's a privation, it's conceptual, and then we use different descriptions to describe it, like length, width, height. But it is just an area assumed to be empty. Empty is also just a privation, which is a concept. Then time, of course, is how we quantify passing. We think that there's such thing as time because our cells degrade, and then we look at the sky and it's a clock and it constantly resets. So we've come up with the idea of time quantifying passing based on the cycle of the sky. That's it. So there you go. You can't attribute physical properties to that. Now, what they had to say that there's nothing beyond what you perceive in the material world. And so you had to think of something that you could still attribute this phenomena of movement to. right? And so they went as far as to just pull concepts out that they knew that were, in no way could actually be verified or manipulated, but therefore making their claim unfalsifiable in a way, right? Because it's just conceptual abstraction. So really, you can just do whatever you want to. You can claim they're doing whatever you want to because they're not real. And then they said, well, that's actually outside of this materialistic world, but really there's nothing thus, because that's just time, which is nothing, and then space, which is nothingness. So it's outside this materialistic world, without acknowledging that there's actually some physicality to it, or there's like, it's a very real thing. It's not just a concept. So if there's an etheric realm, the earth can't be spinning and revolving. That's the simple conclusion here for you guys. And so they threw out the etheric background. Now the ether is actually a disservice to what it really is. Okay, now we can get to the real gravy here. Just so you guys know, that was kind of the story of the fairy tale model and where we're at now. But so they call it the ether, and Tesla is championed in modern times to really be one of the main proponents for this, as is Faraday, Maxwell, Steinmetz, etc. But Nikola Tesla was just basically rediscovering things we already knew. Like when he was interviewed and they asked him what his favorite discovery was, he said that the discovery he was the most proud of, rediscovery, was the rotating magnetic field. He knew that you can never explain the movement of things in the sky without acknowledging the ether. He actually called it a futile pursuit destined to oblivion. And he also said that what we call the ether is actually thousands of times more dense than the perceivable material world or the air, because the air and the matter itself is actually a gaseous form of the ether, this being known because of the efficacy of propagation of sound waves. Simply, the more efficiently something propagates, it propagates, proportionate to the density, right? So sound waves propagate very efficiently. And so that being in this medium must mean this medium is very dense. And he actually went as far as to postulate thousands of times more dense than the material world. Okay, so all that being said, he was just kind of trying to explain what was already known. If you go further back, before the little grabblers got their hand on all the information, everyone knew that the unseen existences were there, okay? The quote-unquote ether. Not HaShamayim, the unseen existences. So when people call it heaven, and the KJV is going to tell you heavens above. If you go to certain concordance, it's going to tell you that it's just going to describe it as a heaven above. It's this idea that we've all been told that there's like just this existence up above you where you float to once you die, and that's what heaven is. But the truth is, it's all around you. Everything's all around you. You have metaphysical capabilities because you're not limited to your physical vessel. You have a spirit and you have a soul. Your heart doesn't pump blood. It's actually a magnet. You have an electromagnetic aura around you, which is why they don't want you closer than 6 feet together, because it actually compounds just as magnetic fields always do. So actually human interaction is very important. And so we are special beings. We're not just physical vessels limited to cell degradation. We have a spirit, we have a soul, we have a frequency, we have a vibration, and we're intrinsically tied to the frequency and vibration all around you. So like Tesla said, everything comes down to frequency, vibration, and energy, not as if there are different things or different modalities of the same thing. Okay, those are all intertwined. It's kind of like, let's say, water. So then if any of you guys know what electricity is the hybrid form of dielectricity and magnetism. It's the same thing, okay? Dielectricity, or you could say electrostatics, and then magnetism, although not limited to coherent magnetism, as is oftentimes misdefined, right? It's actually coherent or incoherent magnetism. This is magnetic. This wood is magnetic, okay? Because it's incoherent magnetism. But everything is, electricity is the hybrid form of dielectricity and magnetism, right? In a coherent form. Therefore, you're actually going to exemplify the power or the energy that can be output by it. So that's where you get a coherent magnetic field. They just told you about the coherent magnetic field because they don't want you to realize that everything's electrostatic, everything's electric, everything's magnetic, as are you, as is the earth. You live on a dielectric plane within a toroidal field, and everything around you is intertwined with that, okay? So you cannot see magnetism to the naked eye. You cannot see certain spectrums of light to the naked eye. You cannot see sound to the naked eye. You can't see your voice to the naked eye. You can't even see gases to the naked eye, air, okay? So you can't tell which way the wind is coming, but you're going to tell me what's beyond the perceivable material world. That's laughable. But the main point I want to drive home to you guys, it's twofold. First one that I really want you to grasp is there's no intellectually viable postulation without acknowledging this background, without acknowledging the unseen existences. It just doesn't exist. There's only been two in the history of mankind that's ever been proposed, okay? What we call atomism, right? Like as Ken Willer likes to coin it, the cult of bombarding particles, right? Atomism, like assuming that on the subatomic scale, there is physical materialistic particles, right, that are bombarding everywhere and everything's random, chaotic happenstance, or that everything is fields of energy within this ultimate field of energy that is the ether or the unseen existence, which would be, of course, Shamayim. Okay, so just so you understand, you can't explain why a laser goes through water and slows down and speeds back up. That would breach the conservation of momentum. It doesn't. But all that it really is, again, light is just the medium being perceivable because it's excited. When you add water or glass to it, it's going to add an additional medium to what you're perceiving. So now you're perceiving the light through an additional medium, so it's perceived differently. It did not slow down or speed up. All that changed was the perception of it. But if you claim it's a physical particle traveling from point A to point B and then it goes down and pops back up, where did it get its energy to go back to the same trajectory as it did initially? It would breach the law of conservation of momentum. And I also showed you that when you shoot the laser through the vacuum, it has to have a medium to propagate through. You can take a magnet and you can take an old-fashioned TV. You can walk like 80 to 100 yards away, and just by moving the magnet, when you add a vector to the magnet, it will actually affect the TV all the way down the street. What's that magnetism going through? When we know that the supposed magnetic field's reach of that ferromagnet is only just a small little field, say like a couple feet in each direction, then how do I affect the TV 70 yards down the street? Well, the magnetism is propagating through the ether. But we have to do away with the ether because the ether isn't even what it's truly called. So there's the first part I want to break down to you. I think I've kind of beat it into the ground. I don't know why my comments are not loading. I'm getting salty. But anyway, so now that we've covered that, understand this is a very real thing. This isn't some like fairy tale that people just talk about. There must be something, this woo-woo kooky idea that there's nothing out there. There literally has to be. There's not another option that you can even postulate that could possibly explain the observable phenomena that we have on the Earth. Okay, the comments reloaded. It's about time. So there you go. Now that we've got that out of the way, we're gonna talk more about the importance of it, right? Because the modern church and just modern religions in general, they give this idea that, well, everything that we perceive is all there is on the local scale, and then there's this place called heaven above you, right? And that's all there is. It's just all materialistic world, and then boom, it's different. But it's all around you. It's all around you. You can tap into it. You have intuition. You have dreams. People can jump into what they call the astral plane. People, and I do not suggest this, take psychedelics to take glimpses into this and to pull back the veil a little bit. But you do not need any of that. And what you actually need is to just grow with the Father, and then you're going to be able to rein this power in, and we're actually given a list of instructions in order to do that. So you can see that things are changing a little bit. It isn't the cookie-cutter Christian doctrine of how there's heaven above you, and people picture this guy on a cloud with a beard, and then you float up there as soon as you die with angel wings. There's a guy with the book. He says, oh, nope, you didn't make it. Then he throws you into fire, and you burn forever. That doesn't happen either. You cease to exist. And so it's as if you never did exist. And that's a pretty terrifying idea if we're going to be honest, right? So we are intertwined intrinsically with everything around you. So what you emit is actually going to have a physical effect in the world. So you can actually manifest things. You can actually affect material, like material objects. Levitation isn't a crazy like fairy tale, but these are things that you're supposed to rein in when you have the power to do so. And dare I say, most of the people in the world, certainly today, they don't have the responsibility to have this power. But it's important that you understand that it's there. And it's important to understand that it's been known that it's there, that the scriptures tell you that it's there from the very beginning, that's been misdefined so you wouldn't understand the true importance of it being all around you, so that when they come and they tell you some of these secrets as if they're enlightening you and they're giving you some superpower, and now here's the way that you can rein in your power with the metaphysical realm, you cannot fall for that because you don't need them to do any of that. We've known that it's all around us. It's inevitable that it's all around us, okay? So the reason they've set the world up, at least in my assertion, so that you think it's just this materialistic confinement, there's nothing outside of it, is so when they come and they acknowledge to you and you start to answer these question marks you've had and you've known your entire life, like, my dreams seem awfully real, and sometimes they're super vivid and they seem real, and then sometimes they seem real, you know, like the Globers never keep it. And sometimes even people have mastered being able to kind of manipulate their dreams, right? Or manipulate what it is they perceive as dreams. We have intuition, just like I got in a car wreck and my mom immediately called me, said she had a feeling that something bad happened and asked if I was all right. How did she know that? How do we have dreams, intuition, memory? Science, quote unquote, cannot explain any of this. This is because they're operating within the materialistic claims, like as in nothing outside of matter can exist. They call the electron a little bitty ball, and actually they say that in a certain state it effectively possibly isn't a ball, once it's in an atom, and all this other nonsense. But the truth is, it's just the terminal end of a dielectric line of induction. It's just like if you had a dotted line, it would be the gap in the dotted line. It's an energy field. The photon isn't real. That's a dielectric pulse, right, within the transverse movement of what we call light, which is the medium that's already there, and that's why it's instantaneous. So it's just a pulse of energy that we perceive because of the excitation of the medium. The certain energy that's put in there makes it perceivable and it makes it illuminate. All of these things are not like some invisible fairy tale that just elude your comprehension and just only smart people can understand it. And you look around, you can't trust your senses because you don't see something's there, but there must be something way smaller than I can see that's a little physical material ball that's bouncing around. No, you can't see it, but it's still there. And that raises lots of questions, like what happens to water when it turns into gas? And this is, you know, honestly, I keep this in the chamber a lot because this is a big flat earth talking point, but you can't even validate and verify the materialistic claim of the gas particles. Can you isolate a gas particle for me? Can you prove that on the subatomic scale, there are gas particles that are material little balls? You cannot. You cannot. We know that gas fills the available space and it expands, right, into the brinks of the confinement. That's real, right? It fills the available space. But you have no proof that it's a bunch of little material balls just bouncing in all directions. That isn't real, man. And no, water isn't like two little balls and get with another ball and boom, there you have water. This is all pseudoscience. This is because that's the only way they can explain some of these things like water, which they will never be able to fully explain like it's sentient, guys, if you haven't put that together yet. Because they have to come up with this like pseudoscientific fairy tale. They have to invoke this idea of a materialistic nature on the subatomic scale to explain phenomena because they told you that there's nothing outside of that. And honestly, it does appear on the surface it was because of a devotion to the heliocentric model, but that is just part of it. Okay, it's way deeper than that. They don't want you to know that you have a spirit. They don't want you to know that you're intertwined with everything. If he is part of everything, if the creator, the father, is part of everything that exists, and you are part of what exists, he's a part of you. Yes, you have a part of the creator in you, as does everything that exists. Okay, the entire unseen existences is basically the glue that holds everything together, and that is intrinsic with the creator. Okay, it isn't just fitting into this like scientific box of calling it the ether, a medium. This is just the technicalities our carnal mind has come up with to explain the phenomena. But it's way deeper than that. It has a spiritual, metaphysical importance. Okay, I want a full bowl of electromagnetic wake words with an extra heaping ladle of gravy. I'm just saying that. I will have to check out that transition because that isn't what's in the Strong's Concordance.
Yeah, I can address that. It's in the chat, so
do it.
You want to do it now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so Mr. Anderson, you're right. You're asking the right questions, man, for sure. Like, what's the references? How do I get to where I got? So when I started looking at interpreting the scriptures for myself, because I think every translation is hijacked by the religious nonsense, the theological premises that they have preconceived. And then when they're looking into the translation, they're like, they see Shemayim, they write heavens, just, you know, ipso facto, matter of facto. So what I did is I taught myself how to read Hebrew, and I was looking at all Hebrew words have a root word, and the root word of Shemayim is Shem. Shem is, Shin Mem, which is used for there, then, name, characteristic, what is the contents of breath and air, and like all of these different things have the root of Shem. And then the Shemayim means that it has an interaction with water. So Mayim is water. So Shem being a name, like it's also like if you accomplish something of great stature, your name's going to go on forever. Now, that's an unseen existence of you, which is your title, your name, that carries on forever, but your body doesn't, your human persona doesn't, but that name carries out forever. So the unseen existences it's not just going to say, as a definition, unseen existence. What I'm saying is that every instance where it uses Shem, it's describing an unseen existence. So in, like I was telling him in Strong's, it says, like I said, there's name, characteristic, there, then, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones, but characteristic, the spirit of, like, it's all describing unseen existences. And then the ancient Hebrew lexicon of the scriptures, AHLB, ancient Hebrew lexicon of the Bible, it goes on to say, you know, the breath or the life the unseen existence of the life force, but it doesn't say unseen existence. That's just the way that I can explain it in English the best way possible. So I'm going to go to Genesis 1:1 on my phone here, and I'm looking at it from KJV, if you can see that. And then I'm going to hit heaven, and heaven's going to come up as Shamayim. I don't know if y'all can see that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it says heaven, sky, visible heavens, sky is abode for the stars, visible universe, the sky, the atmosphere, all this other stuff. So it's actually like they took the definition and they actually reverse it, because they say that which is seen, right? It's talking about the invisible sky, the visible this, the visible that, but that's not true, because in the root word. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go back. And let me close this YouTube thing here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a search. And then, oops, hit the wrong button. Sorry, folks. So now I'm going to do a search for Shem. S-H-E-M. Because that's the root. And you'll see that it shows up as this dude's name, Shem. Get focused. Come on. Focus, focus, focus. All right, so you know Shem, the son of Noah, right? And if you tap on that, it'll say Shem. All right, and it says Shem means name. But then if you select that, so I'm going to go, sorry, folks, this takes more than a second.
Taking the gravy.
Yeah. So if you look up Shem, and then you hit the definition of Shem right here, it'll show up as name. Come on, focus. Well, you can kind of see it there, name. And then if you select it, and then what you want to do is you want to swipe, or you want to look at other words that begin with Shem, and you can go back, and there's quite a few of them, okay? So this is Shem. It says that this one's pronounced Sham, as there, thither, from there, thence, then as an adverb of time. It's a primitive particle rather than the relative for transfer of time, then, thither, thence. And then the next one is name, reputation, fame, glory, name as in designated of G-O-D, but Elohim, position, memorial. So these are all unseen existences, okay? So then what I do from there is I will go, now I came up with the unseen existence definition myself just by looking up every instance of the root word and trying to figure out, like, all of them, what do they have in common? And these are all unseen existences. So that's what I came up with in my own study, my own mind. And then I found this dictionary, which is the ancient Hebrew lexicon of the Bible, and it shows the meaning of root words. And if you can see there, the first one is breathe or desolate, because the wind or breath of someone or something in its character. So breath, desolate, Hebrew names are given words to describe a character. The breath of a man is a character. What makes one what he is. The name of an individual is more than the identifier, but the descriptive of his character of breath. There, used to identify another place that is not seen. Sky, the place of the winds. You know, these are all unseen existences. And then when those unseen existences move, it's called ruach. Ruach is the word translated as spirit, wind, and breath in Hebrew. So unseen existences is the Shem, and then when it's in action, it's called ruach. So go down my rabbit trail, see if you find out what I see. But if not, that's between you and Yah.
Thank you very much, bro. Yeah, so there you go. Guys, just look, if you look at the Hebrew word, you can see that it clearly doesn't mean that there's nothing around you until you get to the top. Every time it's used to describe something that isn't seen. Okay, so when you're looking at the context of creation account, then you'll understand that it's the unseen existence. It's the incorporation of everything. It is everything that isn't seen or perceived, which makes sense. And I just broke down to you how that's the only intellectually viable way that we exist. And so also it stands to reason hyperlogically that the creator is intertwined in everything. Okay, so it is everything that you don't see. So no, you can't fully explain water, and no, you can't explain what happens when it turns into gas. No, you can't fully explain electricity or magnetism or vibration or frequency. You'll never fully explain these things. You can't. Okay, you cannot. And this is something that people don't want to hear, but it doesn't matter. You're never going to get the full answer. But that does not mean, this is the thing. This is what frustrates me, right? Even from like an intellectual perspective, when a lot of flat earthers like to basically intimidate people from having this conversation. What is science? You have to, they're real dogmatic about it, right? So ether's just a fairy tale. We can't prove it. Don't talk about it. It's like, no, can you, this is what you're doing. You're kicking the can down the road. You're not answering the question. I have observable phenomena that's inconsistent without acknowledging the background medium. So can you explain them sufficiently, or can you concede that you can explain them? If you can't explain them, then you can sit back over there and then we'll explain them where we can offer viable postulations. I don't get why flat earthers are so scared of this. And then they're so like dogmatic about it. And that's how you were engineered to be. So if you're a part of the truth community, maybe you should really be a part of the truth community and stop just believing the only way you can interpret reality is the way they told you to, because it's stupid. So yeah, you have to physically manipulate and vary an independent variable to validate a cause and effect relationship. Okay, we get it. We get it. I cannot bottle up the unseen existences for you. Well, you cannot explain existence without acknowledging it. That's the entire point.
A little, okay, yeah, I'll just jump in here really quick. A little thought experiment is people will think, you know, heavens is like in the sky. And I let people like wander down that little brain path right there, because I asked them, how far down does the sky go? Because they say that, you know, when you go up in the air, you know, you're not hitting anything on the way up. You're just going up, 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 up. And that's the sky. But what is the bottom of the sky? Well, it stops as soon as you hit that physical object, whether it be a ground or a building or a tree or anything else like that. That unseen existence stops as soon as you hit the physical realm. And so how far down does the sky go? All the way down to the physical form.
Yeah, he's like, okay, so I'm listening to who's that, like, dude, he showed you the phone. He's using the phone to show you and prove to you what the Hebrew root was, bro. Because I've had the conversation with him numerous times without his phone, man. And then we check the phone and we check the concordances and we check the Hebrew words, and it's always what he said it is. You can look it up yourself. I think that that's what we both encourage you to do, right? Is to diligently study it and study the Hebrew words. But the point here is that they have told you there's nothing outside of the material world, and then they've misdefined what heaven is. And everyone thinks that there's basically, because for one, we're closer to the truth as flat earthers than the typical person, because they, if they believe in the creator, they think he's like billions of light years away or something. And no, at least you acknowledge that, yeah, where he resides is thrones right above you, but he's still all around you literally too. And you should know that. If you know that the creator is real, how would you not, how would you not know that he's in the fabric of all things? How would he not be? How else could a creator exist with the world that we have? That makes no sense. And so it's stupid.
The words of Yeshua says, how do you know that the spirit is there, right? The spirit is like the wind. It goes to and fro and you don't see it, but you do see the effects of it. So yes, you do visually see the unseen existence in its effect. You see the effect of electricity. You see the effect of magnetism, frequency, vibration. You see all the effects of them, but themselves, the actual things that cause these, is in the unseen existence.
Yeah, I guess it's just unseen, but we can perceive it through other mediums. I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, but when we perceive light, for example, that isn't an unseen existence. That is seen, okay? It's a perceivable version of what's already there. You're a perceivable physical version of what's all around you. Are we not putting this all together? Everything is intrinsically tied together, okay? And there's a certain vibrational pattern. There's a certain spectrum of vibration that manifests as what we call matter, the material world, including your body, okay? We reside on a certain frequency and vibration in which we have physical bodies, okay? We have physical matter. Nikola Tesla knew this as well. Everyone back in the day knew this, okay? And I always tell you guys what he said just to kind of put this into idea of how this all could work, even from, because I know a lot of you guys just can't wrap your mind around the fact that scriptures are true, but we're going to get you there. We're going to get you there, even if we have to break through your cognitus with intellect, okay? So what Nikola Tesla says is that whenever the ether is thrown into infinitesimal prodigious whirls of velocity, which is the fancy way of saying really fast, very small whirls of velocity, okay, it manifests or turns into matter. And if that energy was to ever reside, it would revert back into the ether. So that's how we, in addition to that, that works perfectly with everything that we know, that even this matter that they told you, like this wood or glass or rubber, they told you that isn't conductive. Well, it is. It's still electrostatic. It still has a vibration to it. Okay. Everything does. If you were to completely eliminate the vibration within the spectrum of what we call vibration, which is the material world's confinement, it would revert back into the unseen existences. We are intertwined in what's all around us. So the Creator's right here beside you. He's not leaving you hanging. He's not trillions of light years away, and he isn't limited to just being up above you either. He's in everything. He's all around you. Okay. That's the point that I want you guys to realize. Heaven is all around you. Okay. But of course, he resides in a specific location, right? As we perceive it, but he isn't limited to that specific location. And hopefully you guys surely understand that isn't that complicated, even though it sounded contradictory. You're just trying to put a box of confinement on the Creator, which is stupid. Okay. Like you can, what can Yah not do? That's what I want you to answer. So he's all around you. So like, yeah, you will feel the spirit of the Creator. Yeah, you will, because I know it's real. Okay. Because he's right there. It's like, he's just right there, bro. He's all around you. It's
understanding that the Shemayim is the unseen existence and the Aretz is the physical plane. That's why Genesis 1:1 makes so much sense, because he created the unseen existences and the physical plane, and you need the unseen existences for the physical plane to exist.
Everything is always trying to equalize, but we live in a world of containers, which gives way to the physical world. Sure, if you want to put it that way. So, oh, what happened? Oh, and we're back. So basically, I just want to, just to redefine what it means to you, okay? Because we know there's a new heaven and there's an earth, new earth. It's all around us. And like, dude, heaven comes to earth, okay? Like in the end, that's what it actually says. So to think that it's just some like foreign idea, well, no, it's all around you. And yeah, you can, I will say this too, even if people get triggered and spiral, you can actually spiritually grow based on the instructions in your relationship with the Father, to where you will be more in tune with this. I know this firsthand because I told you guys in a couple streams ago that like when I fasted for like just a couple days, just 2 days into it, I started feeling like I was tripping, but not like when you take drugs. And I could feel the frequency and the vibration around me. I could intuitively understand. It's like I was receiving downloads. I knew that there was an etheric realm all around me. I could even partially see it. Okay. And this was just from fasting. So like, and it was fasting because I didn't want to, not so I could lose weight or I wouldn't be sick anymore or anything like that. It's because I wanted to focus on the Creator. I wanted to know what he was trying to tell me. Okay. And got a lot of clarity with different things, one of them being that I would not be accepted by the apostate church, but actually that they were apostate and I would actually end up having to rebuke them. That was one of the things that particular experience came with for me. But either way, it's like immense clarity, okay? And it was because I had basically removed some of this veil or some of this wall that blocked me off from understanding the messages from the unseen, right? It's there. It's just that whenever we're not following the instructions, we're not in any way trying to follow the Creator or the Father. The only way you're going to get there is by some little shortcut that men have created with pharmakia. Okay. And you don't need that though. That's the whole trick. And that's what I want everyone to understand is that there's heaven. It's all around you. Okay. Like existence is intertwined all around you with the Creator. The Creator is all around you. Okay. What he created is all around you. He is in everything. Okay. And if you don't realize this, you don't realize that you're intrinsically tied to it with your spirit, then you will fall for little tricks they come out with in the future that tell you these things that, well, they didn't come up with this. They didn't make this. They don't give you the ability to do this or to tap into this. They have no control over it. It's laughable to think that they have any control over it. It's way more powerful than any of these let's just say, figures that try to propagate a great deception in the end, okay? It's a joke to act like they have some type of juice over it. They don't, right? But as long as they can get you further and further away from knowing this truth and detaching you from what's all around you and the reality of it and how powerful you are and how you can tap into it and utilize it, then when they come in, they give you little breadcrumbs about it, you're just going to eat it up. Because you think, oh, you're actually going to give your power over to them just because you want shortcuts and they're going to give you little avenues to work work out things that you already have the ability to do. So that's why I think it's super important. In addition to that, every single time I ever get on Facebook and I see that someone has passed, it's like, RIP, homie, I know you're looking down on me. It doesn't say that. It says that there's a resurrection day. There's a singular resurrection day. There's a singular judgment day. Okay. And so it's all around us, and heaven comes to earth. So I don't see where you get that you float up with wings and then you hover over people and what they call heaven, and that it's limited to this idea that you can't fully conceive of, right? Because only in this modern world is what we're talking about inconceivable. Throughout all of history, people have known this, okay? That there's frequency and vibration. These are not things that you see with your eyes. You can't see magnetism. You can't see dreams. You can't see memories. You can't see intuition. And this is one of the major ways that we actually communicate with the Creator, because it's all around you. It's unseen. And so you can actually receive, let's just call it for intensive purposes, electric downloads, right? But they don't want you to know this. They don't want you to realize what's all around you. And it's obviously because they're going to come in and tell you little parts of it, in my opinion. But so I think there's just like a huge misconception that we should have addressed. It looks like, okay, when you go back to the very beginning, and I mean literally the very beginning of the scriptures, and you start to try to re-examine what the Hebrew actually means, what the words actually mean, it's all been grabbled. It's all been grabbled from the very beginning, so that you don't fully understand what's all around you, the power that you have, how serious this is, how very real this is. So there you go. There's my take on all that. And I broke it down from you from even like an intellectual perspective. And so now what you're going to do, if you have to acknowledge that there is a background medium, I will say, if you still can't acknowledge there's a background medium and you just want to like stick your chest out and say you can't prove it, well, you just sit there and twiddle your thumbs, because you're not going to learn anything, okay? You can't come up with any other option. But if you're just going to, those people aren't even ready for this conversation, okay? But for those of you that maybe are willing to at least acknowledge that it is clearly the most viable option, even intellectually, just with the carnal mind, right? Then you should ask yourself, like, well, what is that? What is that? Because if that's what's holding everything together, how is that not immediately tied in with the Creator? How is that not immediately tied in with where you would ultimately go as being a part of it? It's pretty simple, like logical conclusion here, right? What we have is part of what is all around us that we don't see. We have it inside of our bodies, our physical vessels. We have our spirit, okay? It's intertwined with everything around you. So is it really that far-fetched or this crazy leap to think that you would go back to reside with the entirety of what you have a small portion of, right? So they always want you to look up and like think about fairy tales and think about this and that, because they don't want you to realize what's going on. It's all around you.
It's like a raindrop being part of the ocean.
There you go. Raindrop being part of an ocean. And we're all just like fish in the water that don't know what we're in. And basically we are in water, but we're just in like that's what blows my mind about water, is there's like perceivable material version of water in this realm. And then it's like we are in like another version of water. And then it's like even beyond that, there's even more water. So, and then like up above us is a different type of water. And it's just like how the fish don't know that they're in the water. It's insane. It's like there are layers to this water game, bro, and it's deep, and it's, pun intended, it's deep. And it's,
so people are talking about fact checking. Well, first you have to know the rudimentary, idea of Hebrew, because all Hebrew words have root words, and root words are 2 to 3 letter words. No root words are longer than 2 to 3 words, or 2 or 3 letters. Sorry. So, I mean, you have to get a rudimentary understanding of how to read Hebrew. And then, like, if you look online for lessons of how to learn Hebrew and you look up root words, they're going to tell you every Hebrew word has a 2 to 3 letter root word. And so when you look at Shamayim, it's actually 2 words put together. And then, you got the prefix of hey, which hey means the, okay? Then you got the root word of Shem, which I define as unseen existence. Then you have the root word of Mayim, which is waters, plural. So the unseen existences of the waters, that's the Shamayim. So it's the unseen existences all around us, and there's something about water that goes through all the unseen existences, like we were just discussing. So yeah, I don't know if that helps you to understand. It's really hard to wrap your mind around this, but it wasn't that I just decided, hey, I'm going to make a new definition up for Shamayim. No, that's not what it is. What I did is I'm like, okay, where did they get the information to translate Shamayim as heavens? And then if you you learn about Hebrew root words And what I did is I was like, okay, I'm trying to wash my brain of all the preconceived ideas of stuff that I heard in church, or the way that the Jews explain it, or anything else like that. Where when I started learning Hebrew for myself and I started learning about these root words, this was before I even attempted to do any translation. But after I started looking for a very good translation, I decided I was going to take some time and try to translate it for myself. It took me an entire year of, you know, I'm not going to say like I went all day. I would say like 2 to 3 hours every day, breaking apart what the like pure mechanical bare bones definition in the Hebrew would be if you were to translate the scriptures. And this is how I got into the unseen existences, because every reference of Shem describes an unseen existence. This is not things that are physical or tangible, but they're things that are described that everybody knows. You know what there means. You know what then means. You know what name means. You know what the breath is. You know what the air is. Like, these words all have the same root words, and it's a shin mem. All right, so do your due diligence. You know, take your time with it. If it doesn't resonate with you, let it go, man. But I'm telling you, it has very intensely changed the way that I look at scriptures. And to me, it makes perfect sense. It's like he was saying, even scientifically, it makes sense. When it says that he created the Shamayim and the Arets, he was talking about creating the unseen existences that hold the physical realm together. I mean, everybody, you know, can wrap their minds around electricity, magnetism, frequency, vibration. These are things you can test with. These are things that you can see happening, but nobody knows what they really are. They're unseen existences that control the physical realm. All right. And there's more unseen existence than there is seen existence around us.
There you go. And so with the your definition comment, right, which is so backhanded, bro. Come on, bro. But like, if you don't know how Hebrew, see, like if you go to the King James version, you're looking at their definitions. That's what you're doing. Okay, so how about you go make your own understanding by understanding that Hebrew has root words. It has certain meanings. Okay, it's a beautiful language. It's the most beautiful language I've ever seen, and it requires contextual understanding. Okay, and so this is within the context of the creation account. You need to understand it. You need to pray about it. Pray for discernment. Look into it. But for me, it struck immediately. It resonated with me. And it's the only intellectually viable postulation on top of that. So even utilizing your carnal mind, which you cannot understand everything with just the carnal mind, we're told that specifically, it's still the only way that it would work. It's the only way that it would work. So let's just like walk back some of our pride, because it's getting like a little annoying reading some of these chats, to be honest.
I find it funny, like in the Strong's definition, it says that Shamayim comes from an unused root word to mean lofty. Well, if it's unused root word, then where did you get it from? That's the grabbled stuff that they do. And it talks about, oh, well, they must have just thought this because it was like a loft to watch like the clouds go in like a dome formation. This isn't Strong's Concordance, okay? This is not scientists. This is a theological premise of what they understood the heavens to be. It has nothing to do with definition. If you actually look at the definition for the word Shem, every definition is a description of an unseen existence. Don't take my word for it. Check it out yourself, man.
That's the whole point. So that's what this channel's for. It's not for like, dude, that's what trips me out, man, is with all of these streams here lately, because I'm hitting like hard subjects with you guys. Like, people just spiral and they want to start regurgitating what they've been brainwashed to think. You're a flat earther, bro. How are you still doing that? You've broke out of so much indoctrination. Why don't you just take a step back and realize you think that they lied about every single aspect of your life, but they left the most important aspect of your life not grabbled? It's ridiculous. The King James Version is super grabbled. We need to get back to the language, and we need to look at the Hebrew meaning of him, and it takes a lot of time. It comes with a lot of humility. You're not going to know everything. Most people, this is just like, dude, perfect analogy. This is why a lot of globe earthers can't accept the fact The Earth's not a magic spinning cartoon ball that defies physics, because they've been given a whole lot of answers, okay, preemptively, without the actual knowledge to have the answers. They've been given fairy tale answers. You've been given the same thing with modern Christianity, who've made up all kinds of fairy tales, but there aren't the real answers. We're now forced, due to a limitation of knowledge, because of all the grabbing of the scriptures, because it's super important and it's the truth, now that you've got to walk it back. You've got to realize, in order to accept the truth, we have to acknowledge what we don't know. Sometimes the most intelligent thing you can do is the efficient acknowledgement of what isn't known, so that you can start to grow in knowledge. It's a whole thing. Yeah, it isn't the easiest, most comfortable, preferable answer that we literally are going to take forever to get through Genesis to understand what it really means, because it's been so grabbled. But it's just the way the cookie crumbles, my man. Like, it's okay. Yeah, we don't know exactly what the sun and the moon are. That doesn't make them some terra firma sphere that's spinning around that we never observe moving, and that they're actually just coincidentally exactly the same size in our sky, while the sun's 400 times bigger, but coincidentally exactly 400 times further away. That's stupid, okay? So just take a step back. Understand that the 1909 Scofield Bible really did a number on modern church. Before that, there was a theological undertone to all this interpretation, and when you need to go back to the actual Hebrew etymology, to the context, how it can make sense, apply it to the actual creation account, and then you can start to understand what it is. We're not telling you to just believe whatever we say. I don't just believe whatever Jack says. Like, do your own research, look into yourself, and what resonates with you, then go with it from there. But don't just kick back on something preemptively because you're like, well, where did you get your ministry diploma? Like that, you sound just like a Glober. It's stupid. It's all around you, bro. The Creator's all around you. He's intrinsically part of all around you that you cannot see, okay? We know that that's there because you can't explain observable phenomena. He made it so abundantly clear. Divinity is simplicity, okay? There is simplicity in the divinity that is all around you. It isn't complicated. It is humans that is the author of confusion, the authors of confusion, okay? But the Creator's right here. He's right in front of you. Can you explain the wind, bro? Can you tell me where the wind's coming from? Can you fully explain them? Oh, yeah, we have wind patterns, and it's because of heat dispersion. No. Can you tell me what the wind is and where it comes from and why does it change directions? You don't know. You don't know, okay? That's just a small... It's like he put the wind in here in the world for us to understand. Just, you don't understand it, but he's in everything. He's a part of everything. And if you've ever really humbled yourself and fasted and prayed at all and tried to seek any relationship with the Father, then you felt the Spirit. And if you felt the Spirit, where's that coming from? How? Why? It's all around you. That's the whole point. It's all around you. We're intrinsically tied to what's all around you. And we have a small little limited part of what is all around you. And it's your spirit, but you have a physical vessel that traps it. So just take it or don't take it. But I've given you different avenues to digest this information, to be honest about it. So
stop dropping the title of the prosperity deity of Babylon. God is the prosperity deity of Babylon. Stop using that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, it's preferable that we don't.
Me.
It's preferable that we don't use that term. I mean, obviously we know what you're talking about, but it is not a coincidence.
Say Creator, Father, Almighty, anything but God.
It's the Babylonian deity for fortune and luck, and it's literally on the back of the dollar. So, like, you think it's a coincidence? It says "In God We Trust" on the back of the dollar, and it's the prosperity deity of Babylon. It's not a coincidence. They do trust in, like, the love of money, like luck and money and fortune. That's what they trust in. They trust in, like, the prosperity of a monetary gain. What we know is what we don't know. We need to humble ourselves before divine intelligence. Agreed. Earth first, space later. Thank you for the support, man. Well said. That's what it is. This is just a growing pattern, but, like, it's a growing process. But, guys, you already know, if you're being honest, this makes that. How does that not make sense to you guys? That's what I don't understand. Because it's very obvious that it makes sense. And if you look at the way that it's used in the Hebrew, it's consistently used to describe an unseen existence. So, like, something that isn't seen, something that you don't see. So whenever you apply that to the creation account or creation itself, how does that work? How does that not equate to all the unseen existences? The Creator's in everything. It's all around you. That's what the Hebrew word is telling you every single time it's ever used. And now we're applying it to creation itself in the creation account. So it's not super complicated if we're being honest. Just trying to look myself and base my opinion, like you say. Yeah, I like that. But I just don't like backhanded forms of doing it.
I shared a website that, if you want to get some fundamentals of the ancient Hebrew, which would have been scriptural Hebrew, I told them go to ancient-hebrew.org. That's definitely a good place to get started. I wish I had it when I first started learning Hebrew, but I actually learned Hebrew roots from root words. Sorry, Hebrew words. I actually started with an Android app that was biblical Hebrew flashcards, and that's how I started. And then I started going on different websites learning Hebrew, and I didn't find ancient-Hebrew.org until years after learning the fundamentals of Hebrew. But I think he does a much better job of explaining the roots of words in the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet.
The grabblers really do try to grabble the concordance and stuff. Yeah, of course they do. Why would they leave the most important subject alone? Hebrew is the only complete language, everything wrapped up in one, like shalom. Yeah, it is, exactly. And that's why contextual understanding is so important. And then when you continue to move on, historical context is also very important. It's a beautiful language, though. It's actually, it's so incredibly efficient, right?
It's poetic.
It's poetic and efficient. Like, it can be used in numerous different ways. Like that's why it's so beautiful. It's very efficient. It's very efficient. Like the English language, we consider to be efficient because, especially with, the way that I'll get rolling or in a debate or something, like, you can make all kinds of different points and it's like you can make them hyper specific, but it's actually inefficient. It's inefficient. The English language is backwards. It's the opposite of the efficiency of the Hebrew. And just look at what the Hebrew word means, but understand you have to have the context. And what you will find when you look into the concordance, the context that you have is always based on a theological predisposition every time. So really think about this. You have to have the context of the Hebrew words. That's the way the language is. Every single time you look into KJV or the concordance, you will find that there is a theological predisposition that has interpreted the context for you. That doesn't mean that it's the truth, bro.
Like when you look up the name, it says the Jewish name of God. Right there, you can see there's all sorts of problems right from the get-go.
How do you spell Yah? YHWH or Yah? YAH is the poetic form, and then it's Yehovah. As far as I can tell, that's the name. Yeah, for sure. It's the most with the most historical evidence. It's the most hidden word. It's the most attacked word. The people that study the scripture since the day that they're born, they know that that's what the name is. They refuse to say it, but they know that the reason that their prayers aren't answered is because they don't say that actual name. So, Yehovah, and then the poetic shortened form is Yah, and then like Yod He Vav is the actual Hebrew letters. And so I'm sticking with Yod He Vav and Yahusha. Yeah. Say whatever you feel like you should say, man. I'm not like legalistic about it. I just think that if you keep researching it, it just seems to be Yeshua.
But it's not Yahweh because Yahweh is Jupiter. Look into the person who wrote about Yahweh being from Jupiter.
Yeah, exactly.
His name is Gesenius.
Which we'll cover that in depth. Maybe we'll do that on like the Shabbat stream or something. But yeah. Not a fan of Yahweh anymore, which should make sense to you guys because whenever I was raised in this cookie cutter Christianity, right, I heard Yahweh all the time. That's what I always heard. So I think that they're wrong on everything. They call the actual Messiah out of his name, refuse to acknowledge his real name. They made up an entire different gospel, but then the name that they use, if you take the softball deceptions that easy from the grabblers, they're going to hit you from every angle, including the most important subject, arguably, which is the creator's name. But there you go. Yah is a safe bet, and then there's like a dialectic issue with Yahuwah, but I think it's Yehovah. That's where I'm at. That's what I think it is. That's what resonates with me. It has the most historical evidence. It's pretty obviously what it is. And so whether
Jupiter and the Creator are not the same deity. Just put that out there, man.
Yeah, Yahweh is Jupiter for sure. He's a lightning god. Yeah, that's what.
That's what they use for the symbol for Satan is lightning.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. So that's the whole point, is that it was super grabbled. That's what I thought. God bless you, brother. Yeah, thank you, man. Much love. I'm gonna check the donations.
In the Vatican cathedrals, they have a statue of Jupiter, and they admit to this, but the patrons call him Peter. They say this is Peter, the father of the church. When Yahweh Peter means father in Aramaic. So Yahweh Peter or Jupiter, they love the statue so much that they've been kissing and touching the feet of the statue so that the toes have completely eroded away and all he has is nubs for feet. The statue of Jupiter.
So I don't really remember what I've read or what I haven't read, so I'm just going to go back and read them. For doing what you do, my guy, thank you, Maris, for the support. I may have already read you out, but it doesn't matter. You got read twice. Thank you very much. Much love. For Scripture Study Gravy, great stream tonight. Thank you very much for the support, Robel. It's appreciated. You're awesome. Let me come over here to PayPal. In a world, guys, take it or leave it, man. You know, like love the gravy. Kanya, thank you very much for the support. I'm glad you enjoy. Just trying to make sure your biscuits aren't dry. So there you go. Look into it. I definitely encourage everyone to look into it. It's intriguing, right? This isn't like, I don't see why this would be a big deal though, right? It's pretty simplistic idea. It's hyperlogical, and just in general, it just helps add clarity to one of these things that they've lied about with the million of other things that they've lied about. But you can definitely see the motivation and what is to gain by lying about this. And this goes hand in hand with the way they deceived us about the world, the nature of the earth. They told us there's nothing outside the materialistic world. Well, that goes hand in hand with misdefining what they call heaven, where everyone that doesn't care about the scriptures, spit on the Torah, think it's stupid, make fun of Jesus, and well, first of all, it wasn't his name, but then they still act like Yeshua didn't even exist, right? All of these people, they all say, I know you're looking down on me, homie, because they instantly hits them whenever stuff gets real, like, oh, wow, like my homie's gone. So they want to cling on to what they've considered heaven to be. But no, in nowhere does it say in the scriptures that when you die, you float up and look down on people. That's not what it says. So there's a singular resurrection day, a singular judgment day. I think it's important that we all right, hopefully we can wrap up. I'm wrapping this up. Thank you guys for the streams. I'm learning so much, and it truly is a blessing. Much love, brother. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you're enjoying them, and that's why we are doing them. Dingo's Den. Thank you for the support. It's appreciated. If anyone sends any more donations, I'll read them in the next stream. Y'all like the attire? Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah, give them a homework assignment to do use a Bible software or even on the internet like Blue Letter Bible or something, and look up how many times it says my name and see how many times he says remember my name, call my name, swear by my name, remember my name. It's all over.
Look into the importance of the name. Remember my name, power in the name, call on my name, swear by my name. Look up that stuff, how many times that's said. I wonder if his name's important and why they took it out 6,828 times. Probably just a coincidence. And we'll get deeper into some of this stuff in another stream. But I always like to recap real fast. So basically, I told you that there's not an intellectually viable postulation of the phenomena that we have in the world without acknowledging what people call the etheric realm, but actually it's HaShamayim, right? The unseen existences, everything around you. The creator is intrinsically tied with everything around you, and that's the only way that anything could exist. It's just literally the only way. It's the only way that light could exist. It's the only way that anything that we observe, memory, intuition, any of these things. But they told you, no, the earth's a tiny speck of dust where everything came from nothing, and then gravity, the new deity, has actually coalesced these into perfect spheres, and that there's nothing outside of the material, perceivable world. They've gone as far into the lunacy to say that there's little material balls bombarding everywhere in this cult of atomism where everything's confined to the pseudoscientific subatomic scale where they just make up fairy tales. But there is not in any way any evidence for any of that. What they just want you, they don't want you to know that if you actually understood dielectricity and magnetism in the hybrid form of coherency as electricity, that everything's about energy, frequency, and vibration, and that magnetism is the key to, free electricity, and that you started to understand that intuition and dreams are actually a interaction within this unseen existence of everything being tied in with vibration, you'd be much more powerful. You'd have a better understanding of where you are. You'd realize that the creator's very intimate. He's all around you. That you can actually be touched by the spirit. You can literally have an experience with the spirit. It is in no way some like little confinement you give to the creator where he's stuck up above you and actually tell you that he's trillions of light years away. He is in everything, and we are a small part of everything that is around us. So there you go. Take it or leave it. Pray about it. Seek for discernment. Understand, yes, the scriptures have been graveled. You're going to push more people away from the Father and the truth than you could ever do with anything else by not acknowledging that they have graveled the scriptures when it comes to the modern English, and they've messed a ton of things up, tons of translations, flooded it down with the doctrine of men. It's just the day and age where the time of things being revealed. It's a beautiful thing, but we need to humble ourselves and accept it, and it requires us to have diligence and humility. Those that humble themselves will be exalted. Those that exalt themselves will be humbled. Always a great topic, great stream. Thank you, Reverend Bear. Always a legend show and support. All right, I love you guys. I'm going to catch up with you on the flip side, like a coin toss. And if anyone sends any donations, then I'll read them at the beginning or the end of the next the next stream. Shoes are overrated. Absolutely. They don't want you grounding. So sing and speak truth unequivocally. The weak find contentment, the consensus of ignorance. If you want to support the tour or the stream, masqueradetour.com, MASKERAID tour.com, $ Witsit gets it on Cash App, Witsit at protonmail.com at PayPal. Go sub to my boy Flatter Day Saints. And then much love to everybody. No hard feelings. If we, sometimes, my boy Jack's a lot like me in the sense that we're assertive. Don't mistake assertion for aggression. It's out of love, but we just want to break through some cognitus. And I just, I want people to really focus on some of the stuff being said at the time, as opposed to just instinctively being, triggered to go against it. But there you go. We broke it down from a lot of avenues. Go look into it. It's pretty interesting. It changes a lot of things. It's all around you. The Creator's all around you. He loves you. Get right with the Father. He does love you. And then we were blessed to have the mediator of Yeshua. So there you go. I'm gonna catch up with you on the flip side. I don't know what the tour or what the next stream is going to be about, but we'll figure it out. And I'll try and give you an update on the social media. Instagram, Witsit Gets It. I'm on Facebook for now on Austin Witsit. So all right, till next time. Peace out.
That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Rappers acting say they high, say they simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up, had to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Took the way you saw the world, then distorted it. Now you think you wanna rock it, twirl somewhere orbiting. Theories disproportionate, the truth distorted quick. With a forceful grip, they force a misinfo that we absorbing quick. Took the people's signature, the mean extorted it. They forging it, if news anchors informant to informing them. There's a surplus, but they tell us there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what's important is this, we port in ships important. Yes, of course it is, but extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks we ignoring, which informing this, informing this. It looked like we were snoring tricks. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilify those insubordinate. Way to matrix engineer, that's unfortunate. Geopolitically, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Rappers acting say they high, say they simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real?